Good morning. Go away. Today we are talking about our physics simulation and the advantage we can use for it for a early high school science course. In terms of a simulation, when you're looking at what we're looking at is a myphysicslab.com. This is a powerful tool that allows you to change the masses, the tensions, and the force of all of the subjects in it. So it's like creating a real lab, but instead of just a single wire, you have an infinite amount of wires with infinite different amount of masses that you can change in an instant. So when we're looking at myphysicslab.com, we have an infinite amount of tools in which we're looking at in terms of how they're working. Now, the cool thing about this and the great thing about it, which really helps our students with relative advantage, is that it combines motion and graphing in the same motion. Unfortunately, many of our students, my students, where they're struggling is sometimes there's a gap between their skill at math and their understanding of science. So a lot of the time as a science teacher, you struggle to bridge that gap because there's so many interconnections between math and science. So how do you teach a student who had a third grade math level a high school curriculum science course? Here's the key. myphysicslab.org allows for that because it gives you this. It gives you this simulation of a moving object. It allows you to change the spring's tension, allows you to change anything you want. But on top of that, the skill that it truly helps with is your math. So immediately a student can see how that a real time motion, something that actually happens in the real world, adjusts and can be mapped immediately over this to the graph. This helps stop the divide that is so often in low income homes of science versus math, of how we cannot teach a low income student simply because they might have suffered from a long-term sub throughout most of their early math days, and now they're struggling in an early high school science course trying to graph something that they don't even know where the x and y axes are. So this is a huge advantage in terms of it. We can immediately change the motion and immediately create a graph that's allowed. This helps us close those gaps, and it allows us to show an exemplar of what it could look like in the real world. And then it's paired with a demonstration, perhaps in a classroom, perhaps on a YouTube video, in terms of a tutorial. I mean, an amazingly powerful tool. This is Adam's first video over our online simulation.